when I stood here in the same position last year, shortly, maybe only about 4 days after we lost to Oklahoma. And that was such a tough loss, as the guys remember. And it was kind of hard to stand up here and kind of try to think back on all the positive things. But I did put some words together, and if you were here last year, I simply kind of ended the evening to say that we have come so far with this program. And I think that was what I was most proud of. And I reflected back on the years of the regime before, the staff that is sitting at this table right here before we got here, how LSU Lacrosse finished each year ranked 80th, 90th, 100th, or whatever, and how we really began to change the culture of LSU Lacrosse, how we were seen in the conference, how we were seen nationally. And that's what I really tried to focus on last year after the Oklahoma game. This year it's a little different, because one of the other things that I took to heart after that Oklahoma game last year was the incredible, talented roster that we were going to have coming back after last year. And then, as well as that, as I got into the summer, I began to build a recruiting list for many of the young men that are sitting in this room right now. And as I began to enter August and school started, the season, the 2018 season, seemed incredibly bright. But then things began to change. And we had what was, I would greatly consider, an unexpected amount of young men that decided for various reasons that they wouldn't play this year. A lot of them were either academic, or they needed to work, or one thing and the other. What that ended up doing was it changed how coaches were going to approach this season, how we were going to set the lineup up, the depth chart, and how we began to manage our own expectations about what we were going to accomplish. Then, coupled with that, as I sat down in October and I began to enter the schedule into the system, we had a great schedule planned. And if some of you remember looking at the early schedule, we were going to open with TCU on February the 9th, and 2 days later we were going to play Vanderbilt here in Baton Rouge. What a great way to get started. A couple of great teams, great universities, right here home games. But that fell apart. And what ended up happening was Vanderbilt double booked us. And they committed to us in writing, and they also committed to play the University of Oklahoma on that same day. And unfortunately, LSU ended up getting the short end of that stick. So that game got canceled. TCU ended up backing out. And that is the reason that we began our season this year on the road against Texas A&M. You parents that were able to travel with us and watched us and the players, you begin to wonder, why did Coach Echols build such a crazy schedule where all of the road games were up front, there were 8 of them basically, and then we played our home games later. But it was just the bizarreness of the schedule, and sometimes that's just a challenge that's out of our control. But we entered this season with this extremely young lineup and forcing young men to play college ball in their freshman year. I'm not exactly sure, but I think there were around 8, 9, maybe 10 of you guys that played a significant amount in that A&M game, freshmen. You'd never stepped on a college field before. And that's significant, that's huge. That's a learning curve that's about as steep as my hand is in vertical position right now. But we persevered through all of that. We worked through it week by week. Incredibly proud of what our coaches prepared us to do each week. The guys continue to work hard, and we got some wins. And I think I'm going to speed ahead and simply highlight this one game that certainly was an incredible highlight, I think, for those of us that have been around our program, and that was the Texas State win. If many of you weren't up to date with it, or if you didn't hear what I had to say after the game that night, we were 0-19 going into that game against Texas State. LSU had never beaten Texas State University until that night. And so, to say the least, that was a sweet win. The losses were very, very lopsided 15 years ago, sometimes 20-0, 23-2, and so on. But things got better over the last 5 years, and now certainly in this 5th year of this coaching staff that we've been here, we finally got the better of it. And that had a lot to do with the way the playoffs settled out. That kept us from having to go to Oklahoma, playing in Norman. We were able to play SMU last weekend in Dallas. And it didn't end exactly the way we wanted it to, but as has been said to me before, unless you win the national championship, unfortunately, your season's going to end with a loss. So you try to look at that game and look at what we accomplished. And I think truly, this is not fluffy coach speak on me saying this, but I think we can look back on that second half of that SMU game and certainly feel proud of the way that we finished strong. We were down 4-0 at half. We outscored them in the second half 6-4. And that's a good thing, and we fought to the very end. I'll take a little sidebar, and I'll use the word fight. And there's actually a special meaning in that, thanks to Max Moret. I appreciate you standing guard over your brother and your teammates standing next to them. If you weren't aware of what happened that day, I'm going to tell you, in my 18-year coaching career, I've never seen what happened in that game, but a fan came on the field and threw a bottle or glass of beer, in Dylan's face, threw his face mask on the field. Max, you reacted very quickly, as I think a few parents did, and it was a little bit of a fireworks there for a little while, but we got it all settled down, and certainly I'll have to say that was going to be a memorable experience for me in this season. Starting off, ladies and gentlemen, number 1, Sammy Latino, a sophomore goalie from Prairieville, Louisiana. Shake that. Go ahead, see. Number 2, Dylan Futrell, a freshman attacker from Covington, Louisiana. Number 3, Brett Davis, a freshman midfielder from Suwanee, Georgia. Number 4, Lane Sumrall, junior midfielder from Covington, Louisiana. Number 5, Zach Sherman, a freshman face-off specialist from Prairieville, Louisiana. Number 6, Taylor Sperry, a junior midfielder from Denver, Colorado. Proceed.
I was the president. My VP was originally Green Bean, but he left us, so then I got good old Sam Latino. That's VP, right? And as our treasurer, we had Garrett Fry. Secretary was Zach Miller. Travel coordinator was Sam Ellison. Apparel chair was Connor Wood. Thank y'all guys, y'all helped me out a lot. Y'all finally accepted. Alright, so my tenure's done, finally. So I'm going to bring up our next president, which is Sammy Latino.
Alright, I'm going to announce our new board this year. For our secretary will be Brett, and our travel coordinator Spring Pat will be our secretary. Vice President Kevin Black. Treasurer will be Ryan Cavanaugh. Travel coordinator will be Zach Sherman.
Travel coordinator.
Apparel will be Dylan Futrell.
timelines for departures.
It's actually not public, meaning I was told that I could verbally announce it tonight, but I'm going to ask, please, that our guys that handle the media for both the Twitter account and Facebook, please don't go out public yet. This has not even been announced to the conference, but I think I was given a favor because I actually sit on the board of the conference, and so the commissioner personally told me who our recipients were this year. I personally put a lot of work into this, and I make sure that I'm thorough. I'm voting for guys across the conference, players sometimes I haven't seen, so I try to do my research on stats as well as talk to other coaches. And of course, I am supportive of my own players, and I make sure that I believe the guys that deserve to be recognized do. But that doesn't always mean that the awards come back as such. But I'm still proud to name 5 guys who will be receiving the Lone Star Alliance awards. The first one, Dylan Futrell, is an honorable mention attack for the LSA. Next, Danny Tingerlini, honorable mention defense. John Fry, honorable mention, long stick midfielder. So deserving of these gentlemen. Let me name the other 2, and then I'll tell you a quick story. Third team attack, Max Moran. And finally, second team midfield, Trip McGinty.
And then one of them is the new president of this club, is Sammy Latino. He came out of the bullpen, and I tell you one thing, I thought he was an unbelievable goalie for this team. So I think he needs a round of applause. Stand up. All right, the other guy is a junior. And I can tell you, he's been with us, and I've always really liked this guy. And it's the first time I've ever seen, I went to the Lafayette game, UL Lafayette game. One that's going to happen for every year now. And this is the Darren Fertel I Had a Beer Award. In your face.
Is that the sub and Lord?
All right, so we had to talk amongst ourselves to pick one of you who we thought exhibited great leadership and someone we just liked a lot. It was kind of tough because I hate all of you pretty equally. I really tried to give this to Kavanaugh, but they wouldn't let me. I wasn't very happy about it. However, we do have one kid on our team. Zero question, our best player. Some things didn't go his way this year. He ended up not being able to play the whole season. Basically became a coach. Y'all already knew it was going to be before it happened. Rob, if you want to come up here.
Kevin wants me to talk about how I went to Jesuit, so thanks guys, it means a lot. It did did suck not being able to play for the second half of the season, considering all the games I didn't get to play in those games. But it really means a lot. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Coach Farrar will present that award.
So, 20 years of rookies, we had a ton of rookies that could probably be Rookie of the Year in just about any other year. But as far as overall impact, the guy who played in every single game of the season, started all but one of them because his idiot coach, it took about a half of lacrosse to figure out who the guy was going to be moving forward. Got absolutely robbed in the conference board. We'll talk about that later. I'm furious because there's no single guy that I would rather put up against my guy. It's bewildering because this guy is the only guy I've ever seen get hit over from behind, do like a somersault, the ref blowing the whistle, and this guy just gets up and is running full speed in a random direction, doesn't know where he's going. But he's running, you know he's going. And it's probably, I've played against a lot of really good face-off specialists, and there's not a guy that I would prefer to avoid more. He is a pain to face off against. Zach Sherman has and he's humble.
Yes, I'll have to echo what Lane said in regards to the conference board. Believe me, I'm in shock myself. And I'll tell you, Zach and the family that's here, believe me, I'm going to have a word with the commissioner of the conference about that. And I have a voice, and it's very loud. Okay, it's Brent Smith to come up and present the Coaches Leadership Award.
All right, you already know I don't need a microphone to the side. It's really interesting. I'm actually very humbled to be able to give out a coach's award. I'm not a coach. I was a coach, I'm not a coach. And usually Jeff gives his award out. He is a coach. So it's very humbling that he asked me to do this. It's even more humbling when I get to give it to a person that I very much respect from this team. He has done an awful lot for this team. He has played for a team for 3 years. He is graduated this year as a junior. That says a lot right there. That tells you what this kid is made out of. He has done everything we've ever asked him to do. He led the team as a captain this year. He led the team as the president of this year. He was a 2-year captain for us. He went to midfield for us. It became started to play on the first line. He has done everything there is. He's got a great family. He is a Catholic high guy. Catholic high? You're a bear. He's the best thing about him, boys and girls. His brother is graduating this year from Catholic, is coming here next year. If he doesn't break his arm again, 5 times. Anyway. It is absolutely a true pleasure for me to bring Justin Tyvee up here one more time. He has been all right, before that, I got one more thing I have to say. It's a lacrosse ball that I found on the field. Because I picked up all the lacrosse balls. And I give it to Jeff for pretty much every reason. I always picked up on the team. I picked up after him. I found his stick, his notebook, his hat, his shoes, whatever he had, I picked up for him. And there's one reason why. Because this man spent his life for this team. He put in so many hours every week, every day, that makes this team the best team possible. I mean, when you're trying to put practices together, you're trying to, we know in Louisiana, especially in the fall and in the early winter, when we come back in the spring, it's raining every day. We can't get on the fields. That man's been all over the city looking for a field. And it might be a field half this size that we're running practice on. And we're dodging pucks. Everybody's been here. Anybody's ever been playing lacrosse and say how many times we practice on fields? You couldn't even say it was a field on that side. He's put his money up on stuff. He puts an unbelievable amount of time in just this production team. You know, he paid for all these awards. He didn't pay for them. You know, so it's just an amazing side. I can tell you, his wife is just a wonderful woman. She's about to smack him to death because he's never home. He's always doing lacrosse. I think he's missed the last 2 of her birthdays because they're traveling to Texas to play lacrosse. So it's a man who has sacrificed an awful lot to be able to give LSU, and the best thing about it, it allowed the parents to come out and be really proud of their sons. Because we played great ball. And you're talking about, Shane's talking about balling. We played great ball. We made LSU into a power. And Jeff is the guy who did it. He's the one that organized this and put it all together. So I think everybody stand up and give this man the biggest round of applause.
Coach Jeff Echols is now leaving us. We wanted to do something a little special for him. We had, shout out. Look, we got our prettiest player showing what we made. We wanted everybody to sign something for him. We figured just like a little plaque with a picture in the middle of Coach Echols looking fierce as ever. We thought that would be a good way for him to remember us. Obviously, he's not going to need any trouble remembering the 4 of us up here. Justin might have been his little golden boy, but the other 3 of us, yeah. So all of us signed this for him. We all love you, Coach. We know you meant the best for us, like no matter what. Every one of us knows that. And obviously, there's a lot of freshmen on this team, but they only had 1 year with you, and they know that you would go to bat for them and war no matter what. That means the world to us. It really does. You were one of the best dudes I've ever met, and like I really know, like if I was ever in trouble or if I ever needed help, that you would be the best dude I could talk to about it, and we appreciate that from the bottom of our hearts. I want you to accept this and come up and do that for us.